This is going to be a video on how to set up a domain on Google, how to get a domain, and then how to set up email forwarding. I'm going to talk, my videos are really long, so if you don't want to listen to it, just shut it off right now. I'm going to explain how to get the domain. I'm going to show you how to set up email forwarding, how to set up email forwarding with the ability to reply, and why doing this is a good idea and a bad idea. So let me just get all the promo stuff out of the way that all of us say. Thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, comment. You want to donate to my PayPal, ask for the info. You want to keep my channel going, click on the affiliate links in the video description. That will help me out. So, okay, I don't have to say that anymore until the end of the video. So, a lot of this stuff I'm going to be doing screen editing because I don't want you to see some of my personal info because I don't trust most of you people out there. And here we go. So we're on the domains. Just do a search on, go to Google if you need to and do a search on Google domains. And you're going to get a box. Well, over here you can see I've got an account set up. So that's why you see all this billing and all this other stuff. But I set up a domain strictly for this video, which is costing me money. So if you want to help me out with the PayPal thing, that would be cool. I'm not going to renew this domain. When you set up a domain, you have the option to auto bill when it expires in a year. Once you set it up, you cannot cancel it. You have to keep it going for a year. With Google domain, let me explain some of this stuff. If you go with, when you set up a domain, there is a thing called privacy settings. So when you set up a domain, you have to put in your legal name and address and phone number and contact info and email, and that becomes public record unless you privatize it. With GoDaddy, I believe they charge you like $8, $10 a year to privatize it. Google Domains privatizes it for free. So I put in ron4.com, which I am using for this tutorial, and it's going to show that it's not available. You already own this domain, so if I did not own the domain, then we would get something else, and I'm going to show you that right now. And here is the example I was telling you about. See, I put in ron8.com. It is available if you want to pay somebody $1,800 who registered beforehand to try to make money off of this. I'm going to show you how to set this up for forwarding of email. I am blocking out my Gmail account. As I said, I don't want you to really see any of this. It shows I own one domain, and the domain is ron4.com. Status is good, and it shows when I bought it. So let me explain a little bit about email forwarding, because this is really important and a lot of people don't understand it. So Ron4 is the name that I'm using. That could be whatever you set up. It could be yourcompany.com. And when you set up an account with Google Domains, I can't remember how many aliases you can set up. And right now, Ron4 is the domain name that I own. That's all. It's nothing. There's no blank at ron4.com. That's an alias, whatever is before the at. So the domain is ron4.com. The domain for you could be yourbusiness.com. Your alias, it's either an alias or the account. Let's say that you set it up, well, with domains, okay, with Google Domains, you set up aliases. You don't have a main account. You have a domain. With Google Domains, you can set up a default, which everything goes to, which is the main name, like business at ron4.com, and then you could have sales at ron4.com and billing at ron4.com. You can set up all those aliases after you get this account. And then, normally, if you need to have a business account. You need to have the Google, the G Suite, which they just changed to Workspace or Workspaces or something. That allows you to have an inbox for every account, an actual inbox. You don't get an inbox with a Google domain setup like this. You own a domain and you get aliases. That's the difference. It's very, very tricky. They don't explain it right. So you just can't log in and, well, you can, but you can't really. You don't log into bills at ron4.com you kind of have to fudge the Gmail account or whatever system you're using so that it sends email from an alias. But if somebody goes in there, and I'm going to show you, if somebody goes in there and looks at the source of the email, they're going to see who you're sending this, who's sending this email. So if you're trying to stay private with your business, you really need to set up a Gmail or some other account that is not part of your personal account, because if somebody looks in the source of the email, they're going to see exactly where you're sending this from. So if I have this set up at bills@ron4.com, once they look at the source, they're going to know it's not really bills@ron4.com. They're going to see my private Gmail account, and they're going to know what the info is. So let me show you what's going on here now. Over here, we've got my domains, as I showed you. And I am going to click on my account, and we'll see what comes up. And on the left side of the screen, you can see we've got domain overview, which will show what the domain is that I own. The DNS settings, if I want to set that up for email, my security, my email. And that's what I want to go to. I want to go to email. I want to go to this email over here so that I can show you how to set up an alias. Now, what I was just telling you about having an actual inbox, you see, get a custom email address. So instead of just having the domain of Ron4, if you spent the money to get the custom email address, you could set up a bills@ron4.com, and that's a user, and you're getting an actual inbox for that. And when you send email from that, it shows it comes from that. And when people write to that, it shows that it's going to that. There is no alias, but then you're starting to run into money. Yes, it might be a good thing if you're a business, but I didn't want to do that. So let me show you what's going on now. With clicking on the email link that I just showed you to the left, and we get this screen where, again, they're trying to push the custom email address, and then it says get Google Workspace, which used to be G Suite, and then we have email forwarding, and I'm not going to show you what's below that because that's all the forwarding I set up, which has my private email addresses, but I'm going to show you how to set up an alias right now. Down at the bottom, we have a link in blue that says add email alias. And I am going to click on that right now. And remember I said we're dealing with the ron4.com domain strictly for this video, but that could be your business.com. And so it's asking me for the alias email. It wants to know, what do I want to use before the @ sign over there. And so I am going to use forward this email. That's my domain name. And I'm going to look over to the right of the screen, over here. And that wants to know your existing recipient email. Now, I don't know, some systems, this might allow a forwarding without verifying, it might not, but that is going to be your personal address or wherever you want to send this to. So if you're setting up your business account and you want people to write to you at this thing, which would be mybusiness.com or whatever you're setting up, they will write to you at that email address, but that email will go straight over to your whatever email you want to set up. So say that you get a business, you set up the domain, and you have Spectrum or Roadrunner or AT&T or Verizon, and you've got an email address. You could go over to here and set it up so that it's going to forward straight over to there. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in an email address, but I'm not going to show you what it is because I don't trust you. After you type that in, you either want to hit enter on the keyboard or click add over here, and then you'll have your forwarding set up. Once you use an email on this Gmail, Google, they should remember the email in the system, and they'll know that it's been verified and it's valid and that you own it. But until then, you're going to get a message that says this email won't work unless it's verified. And I'm not going to show you the email. What we see over here, remember I set up that email address, forward, okay, I just got an email for verification, forward this email at ron4.com successfully, and I'm going to get something in the mail that says you have to verify to Google that you own that account. All that really means is you go to your email account, you log in, you see the message, you can either click on a little button or you can put in a code, and that's what we're going to do right now. You recently added an email forwarding from forward this email at ron4.com to, and then that's the email that I'm on right now. And then there's a verify my email now, there's a button below. So I just don't want you to see all my private info because I don't trust you. So let me see if I can do that. There is the verify my email now button, which I'm going to click on. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to get an email to my, I believe I'm going to get an email to my account saying it's been verified. And I'm also going to get something on the domain screen. Now you want to either go to your screen and click on refresh, or you want to go over to the left where it says email. But I am going to, I can't show you, but I've got a button, I got a message on the screen now saying that that account has been verified. Right over there, has been verified. And this is what the result is. Forward this email at ron4.com forwards to the email that I just set up. So that's how you set up forwarding on an email account. To the right of that, you will have the trash can or the edit pencil. If you click on the trash can, it will delete the forwarding that you just set up. But it will remember the email account. So if you decide that you want to set up a different alias, so if you don't want to use forward this email at, but if you want to do billing account at, it will remember the email that you just verified. So you won't have to go through the, you shouldn't have to go through the verification process again, but you will have to put in the alias, and then it should work after that. Okay, so that's how you set up a forwarding. Now I'm going to go to the, how do you reply to that? Because it's really kind of difficult to reply. You can't reply from the account you just set up, because let's say again that you have Johnny@spectrum.com. You own the account, well, you don't own the account, but you have Johnny@spectrum.com. You don't own spectrum.com, so you can't go in there and start fudging around with aliases. Now, Gmail makes it very easy to do this, and I'm going to show you how to do it now. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do this on my Gmail account, so that I'm going to set up an alias of what the H. And that's going to be at ron4.com, and I'm going to put in my existing Gmail account on the right side. I'm not going to show you that. I am using my private email account now, and I'm going to send an email to the domain alias that I just set up, the whattheH at ron4.com. So I'm using my private, understand this, I'm using a private, I'm using my cable internet account, and I'm going to send an email to the alias I just set up, which is whattheH, with the domain that I bought from Google, ron4.com, and that account, the whattheH at ron4.com, that I just set up to forward to my Gmail account. So we're going to look at the Gmail account and see what happens with the forwarding. We're going to see how it works. So I'm going to send this email, and then we'll go over to Gmail. Now I am in my Gmail account. I don't really need to show you everything in my inbox, but because that's going to show the email account that I just sent it from, the forwarding my cable account. But we see this is the message that I just sent. This has now forwarded to my Gmail account, whatever account you want to set up. So let me go back again. I set up my domain with Google. I put in an alias. Then I set up the alias on Google Domains to forward. In my case, I'm forwarding it to my Gmail account. And then I had to verify that I own the Gmail account address. After that, it allows me to use that address to forward. So now I have used my private cable internet account, and I sent something to the domain that I just set up. This domain is set up to forward to my Gmail, and that's where we're at right now. So this is how email forwarding works. But we're not done yet. So we continue now. If all you want to do is have somebody send you an email and it forwards to a place and you want to read that email and you are not worried about replying to that email with the same account, with the same email address, with the same alias, then you're done. What you've accomplished is you've set up email forwarding and you're done. Now, if you want to reply to that email and use that alias, you can do that. Gmail makes it very easy. I believe you can set that up on most systems, but you've got to be able to set it up as an alias. You have to be able to prove it's an alias. And then Google Domains will verify everything, and then it works. Now, let's say that we'll use your business again, Johnny@Spectrum.com. If you set up this thing, if you set up your alias, and the alias, let's say, well, let's use the example, whattheH@ron4.com. If you set the whattheH@ron4.com to forward over to your Johnny@Spectrum.com account, you're going to get that email. You're going to get the forward into the Johnny@Spectrum.com. But when you click on reply, the only option that you're going to have is to reply from Johnny@Spectrum.com. So they are going to see the email address that you had it forwarded to. If you don't care about that, you're done. If you do care about that, then I'm going to show you how to get around that, kind of. You are going to go in the upper right-hand corner of your Gmail screen, and you're going to see the little wagon wheel, or whatever you want to call that. You are going to click on it. It's going to say settings. You want to click on that, and I'm going to show you what that looks like now. Quick settings is going to come up. You are going to want to click on see all settings. At the top of the screen, you are going to have accounts and imports. That is what you want to click on next. On the screen, you are going to see something that says send email as. Use your Gmail to send from other email addresses. And that is what we're trying to set up now. So we're going to click on this. There's a section in there that says add another email address, and that is in blue. There it is over there. Put on the brakes, people. Put on the brakes. This is where everybody gets messed up. And I'm going to save your tuchus right now. What ends up happening is you end up with a bunch of authentication errors when you set this thing up. And the only way to get around it is to do it the right way. You are going to go to myaccount.google.com. myaccount.google.com. Log in and make sure that you are in your Gmail account when you do that. And when you get to that point, you are going to click on the link to the left that says security. In the middle of the screen, you are going to click on signing into Google, or you're going to look for signing into Google. And below that is going to be a link that says Apps Passwords. There it is, Apps Passwords. When you do that, it is going to make you log into your Google account again. Even though you're in Google, you are going to have to do that again. It wants to verify that this is really you before it continues. Above, you're going to have your domain that you're trying to do this to, and when it was created, when it was last used, and then you're going to see this thing, select the app and device you want to generate the password for. So you're going to select the app over here. This box is going to come up, this screen. Your app is going to be Mail. We're going to click Mail. And then we are going to go over to Select Device. Select Device, in this case, is going to be, scroll down a little bit, Other, Custom Name, Other. If you're doing this on the iPhone or the iPad, you've got options there. I don't really understand. Maybe you have to click on that to make this work on the cell phone, but I am making this work with Gmail, so I'm going to click Other, Custom Name. I am setting this up for the domain name of ron4.com, so that is what I'm going to be putting in here, ron4.com, and then I'm going to, you can either press enter or just go over here and press generate. Above this is the app password. What I would do is I would copy and paste it, and I would also write it down, because if you lose it, you're going to have to do this again to finish this whole process. So I don't know if the screen stays up after you click done. Just copy and paste and then write it down just in case, because you are going to need the 16-character password that is on this screen. And Google Domain sends me an email saying ron4.com has another password that was successfully created. If you did not do this, contact us. And so that's what we're going to use now. We're going to use that password. I'm going to go back and show you what I started doing, and then I stopped to show you the app part. We are back in Gmail. We are at the wagon wheel. I'm going to click on the wagon wheel, then I'm going to go over to the quick settings and the all settings. Let's do that. Clicking on the wagon wheel. Clicking on see all settings. Clicking on accounts and import. Back to the screen that I showed you where it says send mail as, and then we're going to click on that blue link that said add another email address. Add another email address. This box is going to show up. You're probably going to have a name already in the name section. What you want to put in that box for name is the name that you want the recipient to see. Now, they're going to see that name, but like I told you, I'm going to show you the source. They can look at the source and really figure out that you're sending this from your Gmail account. Most people are never going to do that, but it can be done. So what do we want to use for the name? We'll use capital letters here, and we'll do what the H, because that was the name we set up under ron4.com or whatever domain you are using. A little bit of self-promotion. I think this video, even though it's long, it is probably going to get you to the point that you need to get to, and I think it definitely deserves maybe a $5 million donation to my PayPal account. So if you're considering doing that, that would be cool. Now, email address, that is going to be the domain that we set up, the domain alias, not the domain, but the alias. And in my case, that was whattheH@ron4.com. Now, we need to make sure treat as an alias is checked, and then we are going to click next step. this box comes up, and this SMTP server is not correct. So you are going to want to put in the correct Google SMTP server. And this is strictly for Google. This might change if you were doing this on your cable account, your Spectrum account. You'll be using obviously a different SMTP address, a different server, but this is strictly how to do it with Google Gmail. So we're going to use smtp.gmail.com, and we want to make sure it is on port 587. You have an option of different ports. It must be on port 587. The rest of this I'm not going to show you because I don't want you to see my personal info, but the username is going to be the Gmail account, the Gmail email address that you were doing this with, that you're forwarding to. So you're going to want to use the whole thing, like name@gmail.com, and then the password is going to be the 16-character password that you got when you set up the app password. Hopefully you wrote it down and saved it. You're going to put that in the password box. And finally, you are going to make sure that the little black circle is in the secured connection using TLS, and then you're going to click on the bottom over there, Add Account. Now I am going to get a message. You see over there an email with a confirmation code was sent to whattheH@ron4.com, and whattheH@ron4.com, which is the alias I set up, is forwarding over to, because I don't have an inbox. I didn't pay for an inbox with the G Suite. So whattheH@ron4.com forwards to Gmail. I'm going to go over to Gmail, and I'm going to look for the email that gives me the verification link. There might even be a button in there that says click on it, but I'm going to look for the verification code, and we're almost done. Gmail confirmation, send mail as whattheH@ron4.com. You have requested to add whattheH@ron4.com to your Gmail account. Confirmation code is, I've got the confirmation code in there, and I believe there is also a link that was in the email that I could have clicked on to take me there, and I'm just going to click on verify. I am in the Gmail Compose screen. Now when you're in the Gmail Compose screen, before you do any of this, you just reply or you compose, and it sends default from your Gmail account. That's the only option you have. But when you set this up, it allows you some options. You can reply from your Gmail account, or you can reply from the account that you just set up, and I'm going to show you what that means. You get an option to reply from either one with the down arrow. So right over there we have the, that's my default account, but we have the down arrow over here, and I'm going to click on it with the mouse, and I'm going to show you what happens. It gives me a list of accounts that I can send an email from. It's all being done through the Gmail account, but the alias, it allows you to use Gmail to send showing a different account name. So it's not going to come from it's not going to show that it's your Gmail account. It's going to show the alias that you set up. And that is the whole point of doing this. So you can send from an email alias. So I'm going to left click on the mouse on this arrow. And there is the option. That's the one that I just set up. So I have my Gmail account. I have the other aliases that I set up for my other videos, tutorials on how to do this. Again, the ron4.com is going to be deleted, so don't spam me with that because it's not going to be working. And so I can send from this email address that I just set up to with the domains, and then I forwarded it to my Gmail, and now I'm able to reply in the Gmail account using this as the address that it's being sent from. And this is what it all comes down to. What the H Now look at this. Remember I set it up with the spaces? That was the name I wanted them to see. And I did the space what space the space H, and that is the domain that we set up the RON for under Google Domains, and this was the alias that I set up, that I showed you how to set up. So that allows me, this whole process allows me to send an email using this. And this a little arrow over here, this is what I'm talking about, the down arrow. If I clicked on that, you would see my real Gmail address and all the other addresses, all the other aliases I've set up. If you do this for your Yahoo account or any other account, your Outlook account, this would let you send email from those. So now I'm going to go to the 2 because I want to show you the last part of this video. I'm not going to let you see the 2, but I'm going to send this to my private cable account, and I'm going to do a subject. Let's do the subject. Hold on a minute. We'll do the subject of is this private? This is my private email account. So I just sent an email using an alias that I set up in Gmail to my private email account, so that if you set everything up and you sent an email to somebody, this is what they would be seeing. And in this case, as I said, the name is going to show what the H, and that's the email address, and the subject I said was going to be is this private? So this is how you set the whole thing up and make it work. But let me show you why this is not 100% awesome. Now, as I said, most people are never going to look at the source of the email. They're just going to see your email and they're going to go, okay, so Johnny at spectrum.com sent me an email. But in my case, I'm going through a Charter cable company server, so we see that it went through Charter. In this source thing, it's also going to show the email address that I sent it to, which is the one that I'm reading from now. But here's the catch. I'm not going to show you all the info. But you can see over at the top, the return path is gmail.com. It is showing everybody the Gmail account that I sent this from. So now if you were paying for strictly an account that had an inbox, you wouldn't have any of this. You would have your whattheH at ron4.com or whatever your business is, and if they looked at the source, they would never see this Gmail forwarding. So does this matter? Probably not. The only thing is that if you are running a business and you don't want people to see your personal or private Gmail account, I would set up a different Gmail account address so that that is strictly used for your forwarding, so that if anybody goes in and does the source tracking, that they won't see your private email address. And that's going to complete the video. I know there are a lot of people out there that have videos that take about 5 seconds to show you how to do this. Sometimes it works, but now in 2020, most of the time it doesn't. You're going to run into a lot of authentication errors. It can't send, it doesn't know the server, and by doing the app password, this is how you get around it. You even need to do that when you're using Gmail. You're using the Gmail domain and you're using Gmail email. It's going to want the 16-character password, so you really should set up the app thing, because Gmail is getting much more secure and they're locking things down, and it's not like it used to be, so you're going to have to go and do this. A long video, I do think it's going to explain everything that you're going to need to do in a lot of detail, and please don't leave me a message saying that I could have done this in 2 minutes instead of 2 hours. If you don't benefit from the video, that's okay. I'm just doing this to help everybody out there, and I think it goes the same way. If you have Outlook, you can set the whole thing up. It's going to ask you to verify everything, and the only trick that you might be dealing with is the SMTP servers and the ports, like the 587 or the 465, and the SMTP server from your email, from your provider, your cable company, Spectrum, or whatever the company is. So, yeah, I really think this has helped out a lot, and good luck setting up your email. The easiest way, this is the cheap man's way, and a lot of people are doing this, and if you don't want to deal with the forwarding, then you're going to have to find a provider that's going to give you an actual domain with an inbox, Instead of doing the forward and setting this whole thing up and fudging the whole thing, you're going to have to find somebody where you're going to get the inbox, and that can run into a little bit of money each month also. So it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it and how much money you want to spend. And leave lots of good comments, lots of questions if you have any, nothing rude. And again, don't write to ron4.com because it is not going to be active.